It is really my pleasure to introduce my friend and colleague, Michele Faith. I met Michele through Yoga on High, and I saw her in and out of the building because she was going through her yoga teacher training at the same time she was going through her treatment for breast cancer. So as an individual, this event really resonates with her, and I think she can speak about her story, and I think she can also show you the benefits of yoga and yogic practices in dealing with cancer. So please join me in welcoming Michele Faith.
Don't worry, the type is really big on here, so it's not too long. So good morning, my name is Michele Faith. I'm a 500-hour registered yoga teacher, and I completed my last 300 hours at Yoga on High, where I focused on the therapeutic benefits of yoga. I am also a 1.5-year breast cancer survivor. Now don't make me cry while I'm talking. Okay. So last year in February, I had my annual mammogram, and when they called me back, I didn't think anything of it. I had been called back the year before. And so other than the extra expense and the inconvenience, I really didn't think much of it. So after a second mammogram, biopsy, an MRI, it was determined that I had stage 2B breast cancer. And if you're not familiar with the B, that means that it had spread to a lymph node. The plan was for me to have a partial mastectomy, possibly 4 chemo treatments, and about 4 weeks of radiation. Now I'm an obsessive planner, and I like to be in control of anything that's going on in my life. We know that's the illusion of control, but still, if something's going on, I sit down, I make a plan. If something might be going on, I sit down and make a plan. So you can imagine the waiting to schedule surgery while I had additional testing, not knowing if I would need chemo until there again was additional testing, really was just kind of tough for me. I was working full-time, teaching classes part-time. I was working on graduating from Yoga on High, so this whole cancer thing was extremely inconvenient. So before I continue, if there's any cancer survivors out there, I don't want you to think that I'm saying any of this was easy for me. There were a lot of tears and disappointments and frustrations. Those 4 possible chemo treatments turned into 16. And the 4 weeks of radiation turned into 6, which was 30 radiation treatments. I thought I would be done by the end of August, and it really was the end of November when I was finished. So back to the obsessive planning thing. My logical mind kicked in, and it said, okay, I have to teach my team these things at work so that work keeps running while I'm out. And I have to plan my treatments around my schedule so I can go to workshops and I can teach classes. I did tons of research about breast cancer and took big long lists in my notebook to the doctor. That was kind of a joke, like where's Michele's notebook and how many questions are there today? But through all of this, I was surprised that my body instinctually gravitated towards the yoga practices that I had been learning and that I had been teaching to others. In order to help me fall asleep and to relieve anxiety, I did restorative poses at night. If you aren't familiar with restorative yoga, I highly suggest you check it out. It's just an amazing, relaxing way of propping yourself up, allowing your body to release and relax within those props. As I sat through procedures and treatments, and some of the procedures were pretty painful, I practiced breathing techniques. And I knew that those techniques calmed me, but my nurses confirmed that. They would come in and they're like, what are you doing in here? Your blood pressure is normal, and that's not normal before these things. I would meditate, and let me clarify what I mean by meditation. My meditation pillow is in front of a window, and so sometimes meditation was staring at the baby birds in the nest, or maybe watching the clouds. But meditation gave me time to stop thinking about all of those answers I was looking for and bring me clarity around the situation. So if Reiki was comforting, Reiki from other people was comforting. And I used yoga to help me regain my range of motion after surgery and after radiation. It also helped me improve my balance, which had declined considerably during treatment. So what I found to be amazing is that there was a yoga practice for me every step of the way. There's a book called Upside, and anyone who has gone through the trauma-sensitive program at Yo High most likely had to read that. The author discusses the possibility of post-traumatic growth after going through a life-threatening situation. Post-traumatic growth is the idea that we have the potential to experience trauma and come out the other side stronger and more resilient than before. And one of the essential tools that he lists for post-traumatic growth is a sense of support and community. And as I've been talking about how yoga helped me cope, there's something important I haven't mentioned yet. And that's that through yoga, I found a sense of community. When I emailed my teachers with all my logistics about how I was going to stay on track with training, they weren't the least bit worried about that part. They expressed caring and concern. One of the friends I met at a teacher training made a meal for us so that we had dinner after my first chemo treatment. And your next two teachers were a very big part of my community. I always looked forward to seeing Victoria, who's teaching next. She had a huge smile and a hug for me every time I saw her. And Liz, who's also teaching the last class, would have yummy chocolate and a hug for me. She raised money at one of her yoga classes and donated it to Susan G. Komen. And when I went to a silent retreat, Liz and one of my other friends, without me knowing, kept an eye on me, so my wife didn't worry while I was gone. So I am so grateful for the care and the support of my yoga community. I'm a survivor, but because of yoga, I am also a thriver. I deal with the side effects like insomnia and aches and pains, and I'll probably be dealing with those for many years. But with yoga, I can tap into practices that bring me joy and relief. And another side effect that has come as a result of surviving cancer is that I have found a new sense of purpose. After I finished treatment, which, by the way, yesterday is 1 year since I finished chemo. Thank you. So after I finished treatment, I began using my experience as both a yoga teacher and a survivor to work with other breast cancer survivors. I started my own product line called Om Goodness to help them cope with side effects. And I make sure I'm available to answer questions they might have, to be a shoulder if they need one to cry on. I teach them the yoga skills that I use, and most importantly, I want to be part of their community. No one ever wants to hear the words, "you have cancer." It's absolutely devastating. And I am thankful that I'm surrounded by amazing family and friends, that thanks to yoga, I have skills to help me cope, and that I have a positive outlook for the life ahead of me. Thank you very much, and namaste.
Let's hear it again. Michele Faith.